Hey guys, let's get started talking about the federal Ninth Circuit District getting rid of this unconstitutional high capacity munitions ban in California. Now, this is important because the Ninth Circuit, which is notoriously anti-Trump, was doing a split ruling which barely won, in which you got the United States Circuit to ban this, and the main guy who banned it was appellate Judge Kenneth Lee Wright. So that's pretty good. And when you look at other articles, you can see that they were trying to ban things such as this one. And I think Gavin Newsom tried to do this ban. And clearly it didn't work and did not hold up to the Second Amendment. And the Attorney General is completely cocked. He can't do anything about it. The NRA wins. The United States wins overall. And when we look at the gun regulations, there's way too many in California. You have to have a registered firearm, which is not that bad. And you cannot even buy a big gun. You can't buy a 50 cal. You can't buy military alike rifles. You cannot buy AR-15s. You cannot buy assault rifles, so-called bullet guns or whatever, anything like that. You cannot have that. They even banned in 2017 a magazine capacity. And so they reduced the amount that you can have till under 10 bullets a thing. And Nicholas Cruz in Florida killed several teenagers with 10-round magazines. He just kept on putting in new ones. And when you look at the fact that you need a license required for concealed carry, that's stupid as well. So there's only partial loaded open carry, so it's really restricted as all hell. So who ends up with the guns? It's basically it's only the government, and the government which is incompetent and leftist, and the criminals and the narcos or whatever. Okay? Now, while you do have the castle doctrine, it's probably not so important as if just having a gun in the first place. Now, the red flag gun law is a terrible law, and it basically allows you to have a family member recommend the police to take away your gun, and then you can fight for it back in a court. But that makes you to spend thousands of dollars over this. And over what exactly? You don't really need reasonable cause, and even if you do, you don't need maps, basically, is what I'm saying. And when you look at the good cause requirement, you need a good cause for guns everywhere. And in the green, you do need a good cause to have a gun, but you can just make that up. Whereas in the darker red, or the yellow, which is mostly Los Angeles and the Silicon Valley, San Francisco, etc., you need virtually no issues of guns. So that means that you would have to have an extremely good reason as to why to have a gun in San Francisco, which is ridiculously strenuous on the Second Amendment. And when you look at all these cases, again and again, DC versus Heller, you have the courts protecting our amendments most of the time. So it's mostly activist judges that are trying to enable the left into doing what they want. And this is why the court is so important, and this is why we should not relent at all on gun control, because they want more and more. They want a bump stock ban, and then they want a red flag law, and then they want a capacity law, then they want to ban semi-autos, then they want to ban handguns, then they want to ban high capacities, everything. And you can have exceptions, but exceptions are not good enough. We need complete and utter freedom of guns for adults, of course. In all these laws that I'm scrolling down, does not matter, and it's pretty gay. And when we look at the concealed carry in the United States, you should be able to own it. But the fact is right now that in the red states we have complete gun freedom, but in these yellow ones we're having a struggle. And in the yellow ones, it's bad, just gets worse. And over here, I'm sorry to misconstrue this. A lot of these states do not issue them at all, which is right to carry. So to have your gun with you. So this is why it's so important to be able to hold your gun, because you can, exert power. You can defend yourself. If people have their guns with them, you're less likely to rob a place. So by 2020, we have a place like Arizona that's completely unrestricted. Even though people consider it a purple state, we still have strong gun laws, which is a good thing. And if we look at the counties, you can tell that in the leftist states, the rural ones are more practical into getting guns. But in other states, it's harder in the dense population. So, as an example, constitutional law allows the states of Kentucky, West Virginia, Missouri, Arizona, etc. to own guns with next to no restriction, whereas California is very screwed over, and you have all these white Republican areas in the Central Valley that allow guns pretty well, but all these denser inner cities in the leftist states tend to have more stringent gun requirements, like in Massachusetts, Connecticut, and New York. Okay, so this is really important. And when you look at the places that do the most crime, it's Chicago, complete gun control; Los Angeles, complete gun control; New York, complete gun control. So clearly this is a racial thing, but also, gun rights are important for minorities too, to own them. So clearly the states that are the most liberal with guns tend to have the least amount of violence as well. So that's good. Also, unrestricted means you don't have a permit. So you have the constitutional right to carry your gun no matter what with your permit, which is good. And it's respecting our rights. Like I've seen a guy, you could go to a gas station in Arizona with your pistol out in your person, and that's okay. And that's because it's rarely used. And for the 100 people that do die from legal gun owners or whatever, I think it's worth it in case of our rights, right? Just because people are dying with a given right doesn't mean that we should ban it necessarily, okay? So just because, let's say, minors smoke cigarettes, should we ban cigarettes for everybody? No. So if somebody illegally kills somebody with a legal gun, should we ban the legal gun? No. Of course. And if you look at the permit reciprocity, you can see what states are based and which ones are not. So in Illinois, they have the strongest gun laws in Chicago, but the rest of the state that's more liberal with guns has less violence. That just goes to show that the gun control, even if it does help, it doesn't change the situation by much at all, really. And it's a slippery slope argument. And when you look at the Castle Doctrine, it's really important that you are able to defend your own property lest the government take it over for you and protect you without your consent. So when you look at the stand your ground law, it's really important to see what state lets you defend yourself. And over here, you can stand your ground in Arizona, Texas, but when you look in Vermont, that's gay. You look at DC, terrible. So not a great thing. And it's a slippery slope. Like I said, they take away more gun rights. Californians say we're just going to do this liberal reform, and yet they keep going and they keep going and they keep going and they keep going. The model, in fact, should be Arizona in gun laws. Very good. We have relatively low crime, especially in the rural places. If you get out of South Tucson, if you get outside of Phoenix, you see no crime. You're in the suburbs, no crime, etc. And gun control does not work. If you look at Brazil has strict gun laws, and what happened? Nothing. All the criminals. If you look up murder, half of them are Brazilians, okay? Not even Colombians, Venezuelans. No, it's Brazil, because Brazil's super bad on guns. Mexico basically bans guns as well. So who has more gun deaths per capita, Mexico or America? Well, America. So they clearly should arm their citizenry. And I see a lot of petty crime in Mexico, and that's because they know that the shop owners will not have guns on them most of the time. And I know a couple of anecdotes of people defending their store with their pistols. So clearly this is extremely important. Even in Israel they have this. Like, everybody should have self-defense. And I think the court's extremely important for everyone to be able to protect themselves in their own castle, so to speak. And when you look at who's been appointed to the Ninth Circuit, it is important that we reelect Donald Trump so that he could appoint people that are alive, middle-aged people that are going to be on the court that are conservatives for 40 years, just like the guy that defended our constitutional rights in California in the Ninth Circuit, who was a Trump appointee. Okay, and that was a split decision. So that appointment by Donald changed everything. That gun law would have stayed in place if Hillary were president, just as an example. And when we look at chief justices, you could honestly see that because we do have a conservative president, if he does win re-election, we could probably replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who is 86 years old, I think. And then you could have also a ban on So while you do replace, let's say, Ginsburg with a conservative, that's a 6-3 majority in the Supreme Court. And then Stephen Breyer, who's 81, could be replaced. And that basically means that you're able to have a 7-2 majority in America of the Supreme Court, the highest court in the United States. And with that conservative majority, we can do whatever we want. With the 7-2 majority, we could probably ban abortion on the federal level. We could reverse a lot of gun laws. We could set more precedents for the Second Amendment to stay. We could overturn birthright citizenship somewhat, and then we could do a lot of other things, the travel bans, etc., lowering legal immigration, closing the border down. Everything will be to our side if there's a 7-2 majority, basically. And if you look at the same-sex marriage thing, there was a ban in 2008 in California, believe it or not, and it didn't work. And why? Because the Ninth Circuit shot it down. So it's incredibly important that we protect our rights. If you look at Arizona right here, you would see that same-sex marriage was banned up until the federal Supreme Court listened to the Ninth District Circuit Court to overturn our gay marriage ban and to enforce a gay marriage equality act, basically. So this is pretty gay. And if you look at anything, you can see that most places, even Arizona, conservative states, have to give gay rights, when in reality we shouldn't be giving gay rights for marriage because that's unethical and gross. And now we have to see this. And if you look at same-sex marriage, the only people that can really ban it are Indians, which is kind of hilarious at this point. But if you were to look at the local laws prior to the 2015 Supreme Court, there was several states in which same-sex marriage was banned. And only in Arizona, I think they banned it in 2014 with a Democratic governor or something. But overall, we did have a much more conservative state, right? So if nothing happened with the Supreme Court and we had a really strong conservative majority, we would be able to have, at the very least, North Dakota and Michigan, of all states, Kentucky, Tennessee, all ban gay marriage, which would help the conservative cause. And we would be able to uphold the states' rights, the 10th Amendment, to protect the marriage of a man and a woman as the only type of valid marriage in the United States. So this is why the courts are important, because you got this blue legality of gay marriage, and it turned it all into blue in just 1 year, in 2015. And when you look at what happened in California, you can see that the banning of guns is stopped with a conservative majority in the courts. That's why we need to preserve our majority in the court. Thank you for watching.